today we're going to be talking about basic collision detection with simple shapes. So first things first, this is for BlueJ, and the way the graphics work for coordinates is 0 zeros in the top left. We've got X coming this way, Y coming this way, and they both increase as they move out. So we've got a couple of words and we're going to check whether they are colliding. It could be as obvious as being right over or just tapping over in the corner. And the way we're going to do this is to see, we're going to check every side and see if it's just in a little bit or a lot. So we can look in and say, is word 2 to the left of word 1? Now this would count because we are going to take the most extreme right of word 1 being here and the most extreme left of word 2, and we know that they're overlapping this way, word 2 on the right of word 1. And then we're going to do the same for the other side. We're going to do this way and go, look, word 2 is crossing over word 1 from the left, like that, anywhere. And then we're going to do the same for the top and the bottom, like so. And once you combine all those things together, we know it's at least a bit to the left, at least a bit to the right, in some way, and then we now know that then it's at least a bit below, and then you know that it's crossed over, if it has done. The second thing to note about the coordinate system is that the way the words are different to the rest of it. If you get the position of the word, it's going to give you the bottom left corner rather than the top left as it is in the general BlueJ coordinate system. So we're going to check if word 2 is crossing over word 1 from the right. We're going to get word 2 position, which will be this point here, and see if it is less than, because we're going to be smaller over to the left, word 1 position plus the get text width. So we've got the word 1 position plus the get text width will give us this X position, and then we are going to say, is word 2 position left of that, and if it is, we know that word 2 crosses over word 1 to the left in one way or another. A quick note, in the method that we use, it is get X position that you'll want. The next step is checking if it's crossing over again horizontally, but this time we're going to check, is word 2 crossing over to the well, this side here of word 1. So there's two ways of doing it. One, you can just copy and paste what you wrote for the other side and change the numbers for 1 and 2, and that'd be like swapping over that and going, oh, is this crossing over? Basically the same thing. The other way is to write it again but slightly differently. So we're going to get the word 2 position plus the word 2 width, and then compare it. Is it greater than the word 1 position? And then we're taking the most extreme side here and the extreme side there to check, is it crossing over here? So now we know that the word has crossed over here to the left, somewhere, anywhere around here, and we also know it's crossed over somewhere to the right. So it could be as extreme as anywhere like that, could be extreme as just there and down there, or it could be somewhere right in the middle, and both of those will detect it and it's fine. And finally, the last step is to check whether they collide vertically. This is a little more complex because BlueJ, as you get down here in the Y, it's going to grow larger. So we have to take the Y position and then actually take it off, because it's the height which is going up. It's just the opposite to what we did before. So if we check for the top, whether word 2 is colliding with word 1, height wise, so we're going to take the most extreme, the bottom of word 2, and the top of word 1, we're going to say, is the word 2 position is that greater than, because we're checking if it's below it, the word 1 position minus the text height here. It's a little bit backwards, but it works. And that'll get you whether it's below it. And then to go check whether it's above it, you're going to get the word 1 position. We'll do it from word 2, sorry. The word 2 position minus the word 2 text height, and that'll get you this line here. And is that less than the word 1 position, which is going up less than. So once you've written all these if statements for the different coordinate points and all the different edges and check whether they've collided, you then combine them all and use AND. So if it's somewhere to the left and it's somewhere to the right and it's somewhere below it and it's also somewhere above it, then you know that they have crossed over. You can put this if statement in your check overlap method, and if all of those return true, then you are going to return true because we know they've overlapped. Otherwise, return false. Once you've implemented the check overlap method and it returns true or false depending on whether it's overlapping, you're going to want to get the animate method working. So in here we're going to want an if statement that checks whether it's overlapping. If it's not overlapping, we're going to randomise the position, and then we're going to keep going around the loop until eventually at some point they will overlap, and then we are going to start working on the explosion part. For the for loop, you can use either a while loop or a for loop. So, personally, I prefer a while loop in this circumstance, not all the time, because that's what it feels like I would do. If I were to read it out, I'd say, while they're not overlapping, then keep changing their positions. But you could just as easily do it as a for loop. So, when you're going to do a while loop, for the while loop, we're going to have while, and then this is going to be a condition. So we've got our method called check overlap. It's a method, so you're going to need your brackets. So while check overlap equals false, so all the time the words aren't colliding, we are going to randomise the position in here, and it's like, yeah, I think that's it. You're just going to randomise it until they do overlap. So you're going to do word 1 dot randomise position and word 2 dot randomise position, and then once it's done that, if they're not, it'll come back to here. It'll check to see in their new positions are they colliding, and if not, it'll randomise it again and keep going round and round. So if you want to do a for loop, we don't need to initialise a variable because we're going to use the check overlap method. We're not going to do any counting, so just leave a space there and then a semicolon. In the condition, we obviously have the same as up here, so we're going to, apologies for the camera changing focus, it's trying to focus on my hands rather than the paper. Check overlap equals false, so if it's false it's going to continue with the loop. And then here would be where you'd take this variable you made and perhaps iterated it by 1, but obviously we don't need to do that because we've not got a variable that we've created, so we can leave that blank once again. And then in here we just put the same as this, randomise the position, so all the time that check overlap is false, all the time it's not overlapping, we're going to randomise the position until it eventually is. Now, in the animate method, which would be declared around here, animate, it's going to loop round this until they overlap, and once they overlap, and only then, you only need one of these, it will then continue down the code. So this is where you can put your explodey code. Because once it's finished that, then they're overlapping, it's going to continue down. So in order to make the words explode once they've collided, we're first going to want to make both of the words invisible. So once we get all the letters and scatter them around, we don't want to see the final two words still just sat there, not exploded. I'll leave that for you to figure out how to do. And now there are two array lists, I believe they're array lists, which are made for you in the constructor, and they're called charword1 and charword2, and these array lists contain all the letters for the words that you inputted. So if you said hello world, hello would have HELLO, LLO, and world, so on. So for every letter in there, we are going to make the letter visible, and then we are going to give it a random position as if it just exploded and all burst out with the letters going across the screen. So I'm going to use a for loop. You can easily translate it into a while loop. So we are going to want to have a counter, which, my apologies, you should declare it as an integer, but we're going to choose int. So int I equals 0, that's our starting variable. The condition, we're going to do it while I is less than the char word 1, and then we're going to copy this and do it for word 2. You will want to check these because I don't have the code in front of me and it may be slightly different. So if I is less than charword 1, and each time we loop around this we're just going to count I up 1, so that's I equals I plus 1. So this loop will go through every letter in that array and do whatever's inside. So what we want to do is we want to make the letter visible, and we want to randomize its position so it looks like it's exploded. Of course, randomize is spelt the American way with a Z in the code, and you may want to do these the other way so that it's in a random place and then you see it rather than it just appearing and then jumping, although I don't think it'll make much difference visually. And I believe that's it for that. So we're going to make the words invisible. You'll want to copy this, put it just underneath, and do it for charword 2 because obviously we want both words to explode. And then that should then blow up the letters, randomize it, and then make it so you can see it. Hopefully this has been really helpful. It might be a little slow, a little fast, perhaps a little boring in some areas, but ultimately hopefully it helps with understanding what needs to be done to make the words collide and explode. So hope this helps, and thank you for watching.